is that you only get like the color, right? Once you're done, you can't buy another color. It's just because it comes in a set. And also 99 cent stores, especially in New York City, it's a way for the Chinese community to connect as well. In my local 99 cent store, my grandma would know the owner there. The people in the front, the cashiers, they tend to be the owner or the relatives of the owner of 99 cent stores here. Okay. That's it. Growing up, I never felt restricted when it came to attaining art supplies. My grandma always brought me to the 99 cent store to purchase me paint that came in tiny containers with paintbrushes whose hairs are as thin as eyelashes and markers with an amazing range of colors and ink. The item I sought the most was actually copy paper, 100 white sheets in a package, or 100 attempts at learning how to draw. My parents always supported me and drove me to Michael's, an American arts and crafts store, when I discovered it in middle school. When I was 13, I discovered Blake Art Materials. I tugged my grandma from Chinatown to Soho's Blake, the one that closed down. We wandered the aisles like I was 7 again, and she brought me my first oil painting set. And as a young adult, I had discretionary funding to purchase my own set of oil paints, which were larger in volume and richer in pigment, a medium that I've grown to love, but we are on a break now. Everyone deserves good quality art supplies. Those whose pigments are exploding with vibrancy, those whose ink does not run dry so quickly, those whose pages is thick enough to handle whatever media you throw at it. Access to art supplies can be restricted by diverse factors such as age, like a teenager who does not have savings and cannot rely on a guardian to purchase supplies on their behalf. Income, like when art supplies is not a priority and income must be spent elsewhere. And storage limitations, not having a reliable space to store art supplies, and even not having reliable transportation. First, I would like to begin with some tips to get quality art supplies from my standpoint as someone with a supportive upbringing. If you have any more tips for accessing quality art supplies, please share them in the comments below. Your experiences are valuable as they have led to these creative routes of attaining supplies. Also, my tips are limited to the mediums I use, which is mainly paint. Throughout the year, Michael's Arts and Crafts store have generous clearances. They tend to slash the prices of their canvases, which are heavy duty and come in many sizes. You can be notified of their clearances by subscribing to their mailing list. Of course, being mindful of their emails, as all emails tend to try to persuade you to buy something. Don't let their urgent sounding emails claiming that the clearance sale only happens once a year or that it's your last chance pressure you. As a subscriber for about 9 years now, I can confidently say that their sale will happen again in just a few weeks. Additionally, pay attention to the start and end dates of the clearance events. On regular days, Michael's also has coupons online. Just search up Michael's Plus coupon. You will see the iconic 20% off a regular item coupon, which can only be applied once. But if you have a friend or parent with you, you can totally tag team the register and both individually use a coupon on 2 separate items. I also believe that purchasing art supplies on Blake is cheaper than buying it online, only if you are buying multiple items. Be sure to always cross-examine the price of an in-person and online stores and be aware of shipping costs. Amazon also has competitive prices and carry the same art brands as Blake. It also offers a wide range of art supplies from various brands not available at Blake or Michael's. I personally prefer to buy my brushes from Amazon, not because it's cheaper, but I think it rivals the quality of brushes at Blake. It has been about 5 years now and I still use them. They also offer sketchbooks, affordable and vibrant dual brush markers, color pencils, and graphite pencils. many of which I use and still own. I began with these tips because the premise of this video is not to buy quality art supplies, especially when you need them. Instead, the premise of this video is knowing when to stop buying quality art supplies because you know you have enough to make the art that you want. Once again, if you have any more tips for accessing quality art supplies, please share them in the comments below. My own knowledge is fairly basic and limited due to my own experience, so your insights are incredibly valuable. Thank you. Everyone, so I don't really feel like painting right now. It's currently 11:55 p.m. on a Sunday night, and I don't want to paint. However, I haven't been painting throughout the week, so I saw this session as like my only chance before in 5 minutes we go on to another week. So at least when it comes tomorrow or in 5 minutes Monday, I can say, oh, I painted last week. I shall use up my art supplies. I will paint over canvases with paintings I no longer resonate with to create pictures that reflect who I am now. That is not to say that I do not keep old work. Rather, I trust myself to know which paintings are still valuable to me and which is not. I will value my brushes that was once smooth and perfectly shaped, which are now frayed and hardened. I will use up each vein of color or residue that paint leaves until the palette is cleaned off and the ceramic glares right back at me. I live in a paradox where I know that I am satisfied with my own inventory of art supplies. I know that I have all that I need to create the art that I want, the art that I aspire to create, and the art that will enable me to improve as an artist. Yet sometimes I feel the desire to simply purchase a new item. There are two main motivations that influences this desire. The first motivation deals with the obvious beauty of unused art supplies presented to the consumer. As a painter, what gets me excited is the smooth and filled tubes of oil paint, the range of colors that these paints come in, and the different bottles of mediums I can manipulate oil paint with. At the same time, the look of these materials reaffirms my identity as an artist because it inspires me to use them, which leads me to my second motivation. The second motivation is more intrinsic as it deals with an internal conflict. That conflict is that I know that I am not making the amount of art I would like to. In other words, I feel that I am not producing enough pieces. For this reason, I want to focus on consuming the art supplies I already own. Like many material goods, its physical state is indicative of how often or to what extent it was used. I believe that if my paint looks like a tube of toothpaste that was just brought out of its packaging, then I have an issue to address. As you can see, I already laid out my, not underpainting, I guess underpainting, but I also already laid out like some more additional layers. Obviously, I don't think I can make this painting as elaborate in one night. And I know that it may not seem as exciting right now. Well, first, let's talk about why it's exciting. It's exciting because you have colors that are clashing right now. You have a bunch of oranges and yellows, and I have some purples going on and some pinks. And you have like a flat brush colliding with like a round brush stroke. It kind of looks like a little abstract paintings throughout this larger painting. So that's the exciting part. But what may look boring to maybe someone, well, no, let me not say that. It may look boring to a viewer because it just looks like a bunch of blobs of colors that have no purpose or isn't really creating an image, right? It's not obvious. It's not an obvious composition. It's not an obvious figure that one can understand by looking at it. Kind of like, imagine your vision is blurry. You don't know what the object actually is because everything's blurry. I am unsure on how to go about making finished pieces. I don't count things I have done in my sketchbook as finished pieces because I use my sketchbook as just that, a sketchbook. Something that holds fleeting ideas and explorations that can accumulate into a piece that can be presented to the public on its own. I do share the contents of my sketchbook with others. I just do not want to rip pages out to present an image that can stand on its own. If I ripped one page out to present an artwork, then the contents behind the page are basically stolen from its partner page, and the sketchbook spread would look like something is missing. This would be sad and disappointing. Just imagine reading a book and then after reading page 64, the next page is 66 because page 65 was ripped out. However, if I gave myself more grace and counted my efforts in my sketchbook, then I would feel like I have created more art. That is a limited belief that I need to work on. Although I am unsure how to create a plan to make more art, I can customize it to suit the person I know I am. For example, to create a finished piece, I need a composition planned out. I know that I cannot work without it. However, an idea that I want to convey must precede that composition. If I do not have an idea that I want to communicate, then how could a scene exist? That idea functions like a film director, guiding me on a type of imagery to include, whether to incorporate figures, how many figures to use, whether a large or small canvas is appropriate, what colors to limit myself to, and so on. A composition then becomes the scenery in which I want to place my audience in, the objects they would be staring at, the colors that they will be engulfed by. These colors do form the basis of this much more elaborate painting. However, even though these two have the same composition, I know that it'll be very different because the way I am painting it is very different. Here, I'm more loosey-goosey because I'm tired and I don't really care about the outcome of it, just because everything's more skewed. Like this table is skewed, this table is more straight and more conventionally perfect. But I like this kind of laid back vibe that I'm bringing to it. However, I don't want to be laid back when it comes to putting the details because I just need more energy to be able to do those kind of details. Art is not a priority to me. It is not a weekly priority because I am okay with skipping studio sessions that I have scheduled. I let other things that I believe are more important to take its place, such as opportunities to spend quality time with family. I am becoming more increasingly aware that people around me, people whose relationships with me I want to nurture, are spontaneous and that they will inevitably pierce through my schedule. Over the weekend, I had a generous set of hours to myself to work on my projects, but it competed with the opportunity to spend time with my paternal grandparents. At first, I said no because there will always be more family events. Also, what was the point? We are not even close, and our shared intimacies consist of formal handshakes and awkward hugs. I don't even share a common language with them, which is Spanish. There are also 5 other grandchildren who are more immediate and who are closer to them than I, and they can speak Spanish. However, these thoughts were actively robbing me of my control over my schedule. I know that I have a strong desire to prioritize my relationships over any other task because I still had a chance to nurture my relationship with my paternal grandparents. I needed to make a decision that aligned with my priority, so I gave up that Saturday evening to share a home-cooked meal with my paternal grandparents. The evening was filled with mundane moments, everyone occasionally looking at their phones, my dad translating my English into Spanish, and the Spanish-speaking news rolling out every other crime happening in New York City. The night still ended with a formal handshake and awkward hugs. These are the experiences that I let take over my studio sessions because I'd rather have them. If art clearly is not a priority for me, Maybe that is the main reason why I am not making the amount of artwork that I want. But can creating more art be compatible with my priority of spending quality time with others and fulfilling other responsibilities? That question shall be explored at another time. For now, I should focus on making art during weekday evenings, as that's when the people in my life rarely make plans and I'm least likely to be interrupted. The reason why I'm recreating this composition on a larger piece is because one of my good friends, she struck up a conversation with me about how people may not be able to see an artwork made in a sketchbook publicly, and that kind of inspired me to transfer this painting over here, because I'm like, if I want to share my artwork, I don't really want to rip out my sketchbook to show the public a composition that I made in my sketchbook. Just transfer it out. Also, another reason is that you can simply do whatever you want as an artist. You don't really need... Oh, first, I wanted to justify replicating the composition because artists, famous artists, painted the same thing over and over again, even the same composition. So that was my justification. But the second justification is that you can just do whatever you want. And yes, while this painting may not carry the same energy as the original piece, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, it's about my relationship with my artwork. And if I'm the only person in this world who can experience this painting as it is, then that's fine by me. I'm going to stop here because I don't want to cram. It's not a good idea to cram for many reasons, and I'm afraid that if I keep going, I'm going to ruin the potential of this piece, and it's also unfair to my body. So don't cram at night and just go to sleep.